16 years after the death of Marcus Aurelius, his dream of Rome has died. But his exiled grandson Lucius has returned to Rome as a gladiator seeking vengeance. Let's break down Ridley Scott's long-awaited sequel, Gladiator 2.
Strength and honor. What's up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost Podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. And today we are breaking down Gladiator 2. We've returned to ancient Rome. We got a cast of incredible new characters as well as some returning ones. Ridley Scott is back. I absolutely love the film. I can't wait to break it down. We did a ton of research of what we could find, and we saw it twice. We did it early screening in IMAX, and then we did a Wicked double feature of Wicked and Gladiator, which was a really fun day at the movie theaters. And it was so nice to see cinemas packed with people, just like in Barbenheimer. The halls were filled and every theater was full. It's just great for the business, but I had such a blast coming back to ancient Rome. I will say this is obviously not on the same level as Gladiator, which I think is one of the best films ever made, but I am shocked at how good this was as a sequel. It felt good watching the story unfold and continue. I think they chose the right path of going with Lucius, rather than trying to get Maximus back, which Ridley Scott and his writing teams throughout the years have been trying to figure out. But I feel like they went in a good direction with this story. Got me very excited when I was walking into the theater. And from the get-go, I was absolutely immersed, and I felt like I was back in Gladiator world.
Lucius is how it's said almost every time in the movie.
Yes.
One time, Connie Nielsen says Lucius.
Yeah, it's throwing me off.
But everyone, it's Lucius.
Lucius. Sorry. It's Lucius Malfoy throws me off.
But she does say Lucius towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
So that's probably what's confusing me as well. But
Thanks,
Lucius was clearly the smart direction to head in. And back in 2001, 2002, they were already trying to develop a sequel to Gladiator and really wanted to focus on Lucius as the main character. So this is something that took 24 years to get going. Well, really 22 years to get going once it was announced that they were actually ramping up production and they had a script ready to go. But it took a long time for Ridley to get this film made. And, I think because the original writers aren't involved in this movie, it lacks some of the immense drama and gravitas and soul that the original has so powerfully, written throughout the dialogue of many intimate sequences and scenes, really memorable phrases and words that we still recite today as movie quotes consistently throughout our lives. And that, Maximus has so many great one-liners in that movie, plus great speeches and monologues. So does Commodus.
And an amazing villain, yeah.
This one, we have a few different screenwriters. We have Dave Scarpa, who did the screenplay, and he came up with the story with Peter Craig. And obviously, Ridley Scott's very involved in the stories of his movies.
He does like a treatment and then has writers write them.
Yeah, but David Franzoni, who wrote the original first version of Gladiator, obviously he was not involved in this film. Neither were the other two credited screenwriters on the original Gladiator film, which, if you want to learn more about that, go watch our episode on Gladiator that we dropped on the show on every single platform about a week and a half ago. It was a great watch.
Oh, yeah.
But still, even though it lacked that same sort of feel and mood and soul of a story, if that makes sense, it had everything you want in a Gladiator sequel. This has got to be one of the better legacy sequels made ever.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And, Ridley really immersed us again in ancient Rome. And it's insane to see what he can do with his team and his production elements of really just creating worlds that don't exist, whether it's in space, in the future, or a different reality, or an ancient culture and an ancient civilization like ancient Rome. No one could have made a movie like this besides Ridley Scott. And I was absolutely floored. Loved it the first time. Loved it even more the second time. I made a controversial tweet where I said, Dune Part 2 better watch out because it might get dethroned as my personal favorite movie of the year.
Oh, man.
And that's coming from someone with a Dune tattoo.
Yeah. Did you get a lot of hate comments on that one?
Some people were like, this is bizarre. I'm like, it's just a movie, guys.
That's like what happened when I gave a positive review of Gran Turismo and people thought I was joking.
Yeah.
I was like, I liked it.
They're just movies, guys. They're just movies.
Yeah, and the thing is, I walked into this movie not even wanting to compare it to the original and just letting it be its own thing. And that being said, like you said, it doesn't hit the same gravitas and heart and that deep tragedy and soul of the original. And so the character of Maximus is one of, if not my favorite film character of all time. Like, I would follow Maximus into battle, into like near death. Like,
I would follow him to death.
Yeah, to death.
I would go to Elysium for Maximus.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it for Lucius, but that's a special movie. And also, Paramount wanted a sequel. Do you want Ridley Scott to do it, or do you want some other director and another writing team to take over? I would prefer it for Ridley to, continue to. It's his baby, like how Alien was his baby, and if someone's gonna make a Gladiator sequel, let him do it. And I'm so glad that worked out that way, because the world building, he is such a practical filmmaker. Even though he does use a heavy amount of visual effects in his films, this one is no exception. There is so much great world building. I love the sets, these huge, gigantic sets. Same thing with Wicked, bringing back old Hollywood filmmaking. Get rid of the blue screens, get rid of the giant green screens, stop filming everything in Atlanta. Let's build these sets. Let's film it for real, because the audience can feel that. I felt it. And that really transported me into this world once again. It's just big, grand scale Hollywood blockbuster filmmaking that studios need to get back to. And that being said, even though it's not on the same level as Gladiator, it did have a good script. It had some really great characters and a really unexpectedly amazing villain in this film, which I was surprised. And as it was unfolding, we won't spoil it quite yet, but as the villain was revealing itself, I was like, oh, this is juicy. I'm loving this.
Very juicy.
McDonald's.
IMDb, Gladiator 2 is at a pretty low 7.0. Mixed reviews from critics and audiences alike. It's a 71% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 84% audience score.
That's great.
Its box office, it's already grossed over $200 million, having been out for 5 days in not even 5 days, 3 days in North America, as well as an international release that started last weekend on a budget of close to $300 million, it's estimated, for production budget alone. But this movie's going to be a huge hit. We talked about on our movie news episode how next weekend, Thanksgiving Day weekend, there's going to be the biggest Thanksgiving weekend at the box office of all time, when they have Gladiator 2, Wicked, and Moana 2 all in theaters at the same time. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. But I really am impressed with this film. And I'm not surprised. I knew it would be good. It's Ridley Scott, and we always talk about how great he still is and how people think he fell off or he's not the filmmaker he used to be. He's still Ridley Scott. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This guy's amazing. And I think they took the story in the best direction possible, given what they were working with the first film, in terms of a bouncing off points and sort of an opening of what you can do with a sequel from that first film. Obviously, we never meet Lucius's father in the original Gladiator film. We know he's got a father that Lucilla tells Maximus about. And obviously, Lucius says to Maximus as well, I'm named after my father, Lucius Verus. His real name's Lucius Verus Aurelius, and he's the grandson of Marcus Aurelius. Now, the plot of this film is excellent. So 16 years after the death of Marcus Aurelius, his dream of Rome has died. Twin emperors Geta and Caracalla have brought nothing but cruelty to the empire. Lucius Verus Aurelius, the grandson of the former emperor Marcus Aurelius and son of Maximus and Lucilla, who was exiled from Rome by his mother as a child for his safety, becomes a gladiator after his home is invaded by the Roman army led by General Cassius. Lucius seeks revenge against Cassius and fights as a gladiator for Macrinus, a former slave who plans to overthrow the emperors Geta and Caracalla.
Fantastic setup, and it worked out really well. And we had an amazing additional cast building off the original. Connie Nielsen, so great to have her back, and I think her character really worked, although we should talk about how she survived this long for sure. And then Paul Mescal obviously filling in the shoes of Lucius, and it's big shoes to fill, the role of Maximus, that stoic lead. But he is different from Maximus. He is not the essential stoic, guy, the perfect stoic guy.
You having an aneurysm over there? You having a stroke?
I just forgot what word I was going for.
He doesn't embody that common male stoicism of a male character.
Lucius is different. Yeah. He's fueled by fury and revenge, whereas Maximus was not originally.
It's not fury, Anthony.
Yeah,
it's rage. Rage.
And so he is a different lead. So they did mix it up a little bit. Joseph Quinn as Emperor Geta did a fantastic job. Fred Hetchinger as Emperor Caracalla. Derek Jacobi returns as Gracchus, one of the senators. He's getting really old, but he pulled it off, man.
He had so much energy.
Yeah, he's good.
I think he's just happy to be there.
And then we have a bunch of great actors. Matt Lucas as the master of ceremonies, the orator. This time, it was so funny seeing him because he's a great comedic actor.
I believe isn't he from the Great British Bake Show? Too?
I believe he's in a cooking show for sure.
I think it's the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, and then the rest of the cast, very good ensemble. Everybody did a fantastic job. But it really builds off, the two leads,
Denzel Washington?
and then Denzel Washington as Macrinus, who is actually based on a real Emperor Macrinus, who was the first ever Black Roman emperor. He ruled for about a year with his son, and he actually did basically take the throne from Caracalla. I'm going to fuck that up a lot today.
You clearly are. You can't
Get
even
ready.
say it. Caracalla.
Caracalla. He did really, in reality, take the throne from him. Although his reign was short, it does line up with a lot of what this film did. However, he was not a gladiator owner or a former slave of Marcus Aurelius. He came from Africa and was a part of the Praetorian Guard and worked his way up.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Ridley Scott's done this movie before, basically.
Yeah.
And very much like the original Gladiator film, we're hitting a lot of the same blueprint beats, which is fine with me. Yeah. Because, you know what? I loved being back in a lot of the same locations. I love how they rebuilt the same arenas and amphitheaters in the same locations, going back to Malta, going back to Morocco, and even filming in England again. And production was expected to begin in 2023 in May. And production and construction began in April. And I love how you brought up how Wicked and Gladiator are just going back to the roots of building massive sets, because this is what they used to do. And when you watch the credit roll at the end of the movie, the carpenter, the plasterer credit roll was massive.
Just as big as visual effects artists.
And instead of a visual effects section, of course there were visual effects in this movie off the chain. But it was so great to see so many builders and carpenters who were building these massive sets. So the opening sequence in Numidia when the Romans are attacking this last city that it hasn't been conquered by Rome yet. And we have these big-ass walls that are like 50 feet high, and we have these massive warships heading for these walls. It's very Lord of the Rings-esque in terms of having these towers built on top of these ships. And I love the way Ridley was filming this sequence because we got a lot of characters that you never really see very often in ship naval scenes. You never see people doing the sails in a battle often, as well as the drummers down at the bottom as well. So it was really cool to see, but they didn't film this on water. They filmed this in a dry location. They built the walls, obviously. They built all the catapults, everything, like they did in the first one. So they put all these giant ships. They built these ships, obviously. What they did was they put them on tires.
No way!
And they basically drove them to the wall, and they're just on sand, and they CGI'd all of the water. The ocean water, the sea, is CGI in the opening battle sequence of Gladiator. All of the boats are on wheels.
That's amazing.
Driving into the wall.
Is there behind-the-scenes footage you found or images?
Someone, a huge listener of our show, Dora, she is an armorer as well, worked on the movie. She posted a couple of videos.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, I saw Dora. Yeah, she's accredited.
She worked on Gladiator, yeah. She actually also has a credit as one of the archers. She has a shot by herself.
So cool.
So she posted some videos of the ships on tires driving to the wall.
Oh my god!
And they have blue screen mats at the bottom.
I thought the ships looked so real.
The ships were real.
Yeah,
100% were real.
Oh my god!
But the CGI was the water.
Yes, that's fantastic. And like, I thought a lot of the ships were real, but I thought like the big wides. I'm sure not all of them were there, but I thought it was all CGI. But it looked fantastic, and you can tell they built a lot of the ships. Because, especially during some of the crashes, they put like maybe black magics or something like on the bodies of the ships as they crash into each other.
Who knows?
Especially in the Gladiator arena, because it looks so real. Like these great,
they definitely lost the camera.
Yeah, these great body cams on the actual ships. It was just fantastic. That sequence was amazing because the movie opened so well. Very little dialogue in the first fucking 15 minutes of this movie, and it kind of played a little bit like a silent film in a lot of ways. But first of all, I love a good title credit sequence. We don't get them that often nowadays. It's becoming pretty rare. And this one was really cool. We got basically a little recap of Gladiator.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I got emotional.
Yeah, same. And it was this beautiful painted animation over footage from the original film with some highlighted moments of that film.
I don't know if it's animation. They might be oil paintings.
No, I'm saying it's painted.
Yeah, but it's animation. But
it's creating an animation.
No, but I mean, it could be oil paintings that they just did frame by frame.
That's what I'm saying. They painted it.
Yeah, I know.
What are you saying?
No,
I'm saying they painted it frame by frame.
no, but you're saying animation. Like
when you make it 24 frames per second, it becomes
I thought you meant
animation.
it was CGI animation.
No, I'm painted.
Yeah.
I keep saying painted.
Painted.
Paint with the brush.
There's also people don't actually. I want to know how they actually did it because some people think it might be AI. I doubt it. But.
No. I don't think so because Ridley Scott's company logo has always been that same animation of painted stills.
Yeah, oil painting.
Scott-free Productions. It's always been that. So James in his oil paint.
The guy go.
It might be acrylic, man. You don't even.
You can see the brushstrokes. It's great.
Get out
The
of
guy
here.
going through the cave.
Yeah, exactly. So that's always been a beautiful, painted animation. And so we got this really lovely, like you said, emotional opening title credit sequence that I was not expecting. And it was so cool. I thought it was really fabulous. Again, title credit sequences are really rare. Directors kind of have to fight for them now. They used to be, you always had a title credit sequence.
It feels like studios just want to get to the movie
Exactly.
ASAP.
Get to the movie, get it going. But Ridley loves the title credit sequence. And this was a really cool way to prepare you for the film that was about to unfold. Watch all your favorite moments, especially for people who hadn't seen Gladiator in years or have never seen Gladiator, gave them a little bit of a sense for where the story started. And I thought it was just a really cool way to open the film. And then it cut to probably my favorite shot of the movie is a connection to the first film.
It's a genius opening shot. Absolutely brilliant.
And Gladiator, as we now all know, opens with the beautiful shot of Maximus's hand moving along the tips of the wheat field. And that holds for like a good 20 seconds to open Gladiator. And in this time, we get the hands of Lucius working in the grain stands in the bucket, the wicker bucket. So we're getting a connection to the wheat of the first film. And I thought I was like, when that shot happened, I was like, this is a perfect way to open the movie.
I think it was the first thing I said to you after the first screening. I said, that wheat shot, the opening shot was genius.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful connection.
Yeah.
Wonderful connection. But this movie, again, great filmmaking elements. Did you know that Ridley Scott, he actually used his old Kingdom of Heaven set in Morocco for this?
I called this movie, in my review, I said this was Gladiator meets Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah, so he had a movie set that he built when he made Kingdom of Heaven, and he actually sold that Kingdom of Heaven set back to the Moroccan government for $10 because it was cheaper than if he would have had to have dismantled it. So he sold it to them, and then he had to actually rent it out from the Moroccan government to use it in this movie to be as the city in the opening of the movie. So the opening city, Numidia, that is the city that he built for Kingdom of Heaven.
They did get a huge tax incentive for their budget for shooting in Malta and Morocco. So they got, I can't remember what the currency is in Malta, but they got 46 million of that currency back for shooting it there.
Well, they got 46 million pounds back.
Pounds, yeah. So, I mean, it benefited everyone to shoot it there. And also, like, returning to the Malta sets, that first small Coliseum built in that village. And he literally did pretty much the same exact shot that we got in Gladiator to show a connection once again. I really love the setup of the movie. I like the idea of Lucius being skirted away, exiled into Rome exiled out of Rome by his mom. I didn't love how fast it happened. I'll get into that later, like when we did the flashback. It was like Maximus. I'll get into it right now. I didn't love Maximus is being carried out of the arena, and then Lucilla takes Lucius and is like, "Oh, you get a write off right now." I thought that was like a little too fast narratively, but they had to do it in 30 seconds. I get it, but I didn't love that. I would have liked it if like she sent him to hiding like maybe a few days later.
For me, it makes total sense. Mm-hmm. It's a world and a culture where people get stabbed for control of an empire all the time. So many emperors were killed, or so many politicians were murdered for power. We don't even know about all the politicians and senators that were probably backstabbed and killed for power. We just really know about the emperors. That's what we learned about in school. So from my perspective, what I took away from it was it made total sense, and it goes back to Lucilla being a great survivor, especially in the game of politics in ancient Rome, where she knows how to survive. And she knows that, yes, she is the daughter of Marcus Aurelius. Because she's a woman, she can never be emperor. So she has privilege and immense wealth, but she can never have that power. And now that Commodus is dead, who's going to have the power? The heir falls to Lucius.
Yeah.
And so she probably foresees if I'm in her shoes as a character, she foresees that, sure, she could probably keep Lucius alive for a short time, and then there'd be an interim, maybe 2 consults or a consult that runs the empire for the time being. But at some point, Lucius is going to get killed.
Yeah.
So might as well get him out of there ASAP so you don't have to deal with it.
Also, something that they didn't even put in the film that I'm glad they didn't, because they didn't need it. They didn't explain the new emperors and how they came into power. In history, the father of the emperor pair of brothers was Septimum Severus.
Severus Snape.
Severus Snape was the emperor of Rome.
Always.
and he had the son emperors who took over after him. They didn't have to explain it. We have new emperors. Acacius returns to Rome after ending the North African campaign. New emperors. There's no need to explain it. It's just this is the way it is right now. We don't need a backstory. I thought it was really smart to not even put that in the story.
Me too.
No
I
need
thought it was
for
great.
it. No need for it at all.
Because what I think this movie does so well is, of course, legacy sequels, or whether it be a remake, reboots of movies from the past. So what they tend to do, in just like Gladiator 2 does, is you hit a lot of the same beats, a lot of the same moments. You kind of follow the blueprints. You know, we have a person of great privilege and power becoming a gladiator. That's the plot of this film, just like the plot of Gladiator. And we hit the same blueprints, hit the same beats, but I think Ridley does a great job, and the screenwriters do a great job of realizing, let's just get through it all quicker. Let's move through the script. Let's move through the storyline. Even when we're getting to the baboon fight, which is in the same city where Maximus had his first gladiator fight, it's so cool to be there, but we're there in and out. Yeah. You know, rather than Gladiator, we're there for like 10 or 15 minutes with the characters.
No lingering at all in this movie.
So
it's
just
brisk.
boom, 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 boom. Let's get moving. Let's get to the big stuff later on. And I'd like to also talk about the story and why this sequel took 24 years to get released and get made. So in June 2001, developments for Gladiator began for either a prequel or a sequel, with Dan Franzoni in early negotiations to once again serve as the head screenwriter like he did in the original Gladiator film. Ridley Scott's logic to make the sequel was that even though Maximus Decimus Meridius died at the end of the original film, what happened to Lucius Verus was left ambiguous, considering the questions about his whereabouts perfect for a second film. The following year, in 2002, the sequel was actually announced to be moving forward with John Logan serving as screenwriter. The plot, set 15 years later after Maximus's death, included the Praetorian Guards ruling Rome and an older Lucius, the son of Lucilla, searching for the truth about his biological father. Franzoni signed on as a producer. He actually produced Gladiator 2, alongside Douglas Wick and Walter Parks. Walter Parks, actually the guy who ran DreamWorks at the time. I don't know if you remember when we were talking about that. He was very much involved in Gladiator day-to-day operations, constantly sending faxes back and forth between Ridley Scott across time zones, whether if he was in LA or being on set, being heavily involved with the story and the filmmaking. In December 2002, the film's plot was announced to include prequel events regarding the parentage of Lucius, as well as sequel events depicting the resurrection of Maximus, the main character of the original film. The producers and Russell Crowe, who portrayed Maximus, collaboratively and extensively researched ancient Roman beliefs regarding the afterlife, which obviously is very much shown in the original film, as well as shown differently in this film.
Yeah.
Although Crowe and Scott had discussed how to bring the former back by having his character resurrect, Scott concluded that Crowe would have to return either as Maximus's double or play another character. By September 2003, Scott announced that the script was completed, while confirming that the story would primarily center on Lucius. And then it was put on hold for a few years. In May 2006, Ridley Scott stated that DreamWorks Pictures had wanted to make the sequel, but there were differing ideas for the story. Like we said, Russell Crowe, as well as another writer, they wanted this fantasy element where they brought Maximus back to life. And the studio wanted to base the film on Lucius as a son of Maximus and Lucilla, even as far back in 2006. But this afterlife thing was kind of putting everything in a lull because
it becomes a fantasy movie.
Yeah, and even though we explore the afterlife in the first film, which shows that the afterlife is real in this world, bringing a character back from the dead, it might be a bit hokey.
I think that, we beautifully build upon the spiritual Elysium world in this film. But again, it doesn't feel fantastical. It feels like, oh, this is the spiritual afterlife that seems, believable in a way, and a manifestation of heaven. So, I do think that, bringing Maximus back from the dead would have been a little too much in that direction.
You would think that, but it gets even worse in that direction. So they kept going forward with this plot line, and during this time around 2006, Nick Cave, the songwriter and screenwriter, was commissioned to write a new draft of the script. It was later revealed to be written under the working title of Christ Killer. Cave described the plot as deities versus deity versus humanity story. The story involved Maximus in purgatory, who is resurrected as an immortal warrior for the Roman gods. Maximus is sent back to Earth and tasked with ending Christianity by killing Jesus and his disciples, as Christianity was draining the power of the ancient pagan gods. During his mission, Maximus is tricked into murdering his own son. Cursed to live forever, Maximus fights in the Crusades, World War II, and the Vietnam War, with the ending revealing that in present day, the character now works at the Pentagon. The script was rejected and scrapped after Steven Spielberg, who had consulted on the original film, told Scott it wasn't going to work, especially as Cave had written something too grand due to his theater work.
Then it became Clash of the Titans.
Yeah. and then some.
Yeah, for
Time
real.
traveling, Clash of the Titans. Immortal warrior from 4,000 years ago to present day. It's a bit much. And then after about 2006, the story in the movie just kind of stopped being developed.
And Scott was doing a ton of other movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was busy in the 2000s and 2010s. He's been busy his whole career. He makes a movie every year or two. The guy's a machine. And then it wasn't really until 2017 that Scott revealed that the difficulties of reintroducing Maximus had been resolved.
By not doing it.
And they became enthusiastic about the future of the project, with discussions of Russell Crowe reprising his role, which were ongoing. But then that eventually got scrapped too, until more recently they came up with an idea without Maximus, no resurrection, explore the afterlife, but let's focus on Lucius. Keep the movie grounded in reality. Keep it grounded like the original film. You can still explore the afterlife, which they do in this film in a really unique, interesting way. But let's stay focused on this linear story.
Because what really makes Gladiator work is, we know it's a work of fiction, but there are a lot of historical references and characters and human beings who lived, and actions. Commodus was real. He did fight in the arena. Things like that. Lucilla was the daughter of Marcus Aurelius. Commodus was the son of Marcus Aurelius. You need to have that connection to historical realities and then build off of that. When you go on fantasy with gods and you have like Poseidon and Zeus and stuff, like you're going off the chain. It's a different movie. And this film does the former as well. It does have strong roots to realities, real emperors, real conflicts. The brothers Caracalla and Gaeta were real emperors, and Caracalla did really kill Gaeta. He actually tried to kill him multiple times, and the way that Caracalla actually killed Gaeta in real life was with the help of their mother. So they tricked Gaeta into having a little private family meeting, because Caracalla could never get him away from his guards. And so their mother took Gaeta into her arms in a comforting way, and Caracalla killed him. So which is a crazy story. A mother helped a son kill the other son. That's beyond Cain and Abel right there. So an extension of reality. No, this movie is not always historically accurate. Were there sharks in water in the Colosseum? It's debatable. Probably not. But you know what? It's fun as hell. It was insane to see. But also, it could have been possible. The Romans were masters of water. They created an entire society with plumbing that had never been done before. So again, basing it in reality, using real characters, Macrinus, like I said, being the real first black emperor ever, who did succeed Caracalla in real life. That's a real thing that happened, and building a character off of that. Yes, you fictionalize it with Denzel's role in this film and what that character is, and because you're connecting it to another film, but having a basis in real history and reality helps with the story, and helps us with as an audience feel like, it's not real life, but this something like this could have happened.
But there also are improvements on the realities of ancient Rome that weren't shown in the original in a lot of ways. I think one of the coolest things that I saw in Gladiator 2, which was proven, I believe, recently to be real, was marble busts and marble statues that were painted. And Lucilla has these two gorgeous busts inside of her home that have gorgeous paint on them. And this actually did happen. They did actually paint a lot of their statues in ancient Rome. And it wasn't in the first film, but that's sort of a correction of ancient history and antiquity, which I thought was really fascinating. Also, more animals in the arena.
Yes.
Of course, we have the tigers in the first film, which were one of the most iconic scenes ever in an action film. We got a little tease of tigers in this film. We got a little reference to them with the tiger in the cage in the Gladiator barracks area. But we had more animals in this movie, and whether or not rhinoceroses and baboons were used in the arena, it's a fact that more people were killed by animals in the Colosseum than by humans. And also it's a fact that more gladiators died of infected wounds than actually in the arena. Actually having a gladiator doctor in this film made it really accurate and authentic to what it was really like. So some things were improved. Sharks in the Colosseum, who knows? But why the fuck not?
It's a movie.
Baboons in an amphitheater in an arena for a fight, who knows? But fucking amazing shit. What a cool scene.
Historians did say that happened.
And whether or not someone rode a rhinoceros, it doesn't matter. It's so amazing. That was one of the best scenes I've seen in a movie all year.
Yeah, and again, there are like some critics get hypercritical. They're like, actually, it didn't line up. People were critical that the Numidia conquering happened way before Caracalla and Gaeta became emperors, but who cares? Who cares? It's a movie.
It's a movie.
It doesn't have to line up perfectly. I mean, Maximus was not real, and we all love Gladiator. You know what I mean? It's totally fine. And on top of that, again, this is being a movie. I've been seeing so many issues with accents in this film, especially with Denzel doing an American accent. First of all, Denzel is my favorite character in the movie, and we'll just spoil it right now. He turned into an amazing villain, unexpected, and he has that amazing gravitas, the amazing cadence, the presence, and also, I mean, Denzel, people said he had a New York accent. He has a Shakespearean accent with he has a Shakespearean cadence with an American accent. And I think that most audiences were thrown off by that maybe. But I gotta say, his performance was phenomenal. I would not be surprised if he was nominated for an Oscar for supporting role in this. I loved his character. I loved Macrinus. He was scheming. He was plotting. He tricked everyone the whole time. He always held his cards close to his chest.
Tricked the audience.
I thought he was going to be an ally to Lucius the entire time. And he was a great villain. He was ruthless, extremely charming. And I love Denzel's physical performance. I love his vocal performance, his attitude, his personality. I love everything about it. And he had so many great cadences. Like, he was always playing with his outfits and his jewelries, and he's always like adjusting himself because he's like blending in. You know what I mean?
And he had that high tone. Like, he had that high pitched tone.
Too much.
Yes. And then he sticks his tongue out a few times. And
so funny.
He's so intimate and so physical.
People are being critical. It's like, you didn't live in ancient Rome? You're saying nobody in ancient Rome had personality?
But also the accent thing, no one in this movie speaking Latin, no one's speaking in an ancient Roman accent. We don't know what that would have sounded like.
Yes,
so people usually, for films like this, it's always been either you do the accent you have or you do a British accent. You know, Paul Mescal, he's Irish, but he does a British accent in this movie. Connie Nielsen, she's from... where Eastern European country she's from? I can't remember.
I think she's Hungarian.
Something but she speaks English very well and fluently. But she also has an accent, so she has a mix between that and English accents. But Denzel doing an American accent, I thought it was fun. And then I love Pedro's accent in this film. Very classic Hollywood sort of accent in a lot of ways. Very articulate, very well spoken, and very clear enunciation with a lot of power behind his voice.
Here's the thing: is like people complain that not everyone had an English accent. It's like, have you seen any other ancient epics? Most of the old ones, it's all American accents. Ben-Hur, Spartacus, Ten Commandments. It's fucking Charlton Heston. It's like, it doesnn't matter. It's totally
Last Temptation.
Last Temptation.
Willem Dafoe's
just American. Because that's not what's important. That's not what's important. And we're also making a movie for a specific audience. Also, I mean, when you do a varying language accents, it also shows that like there are different languages. People are from different countries, from different conquered areas. Rome was massive. It was filled with so many cultures. Everyone had different accents and different languages. So it makes sense that not everyone has the same accent. All historical movies with everyone having English accents, that's relatively new. in cinema. That's like in the last few decades. It was very common to have actors, like you said, do their own accents or to do a mix of English and American or what have you. But thinking that everybody should have an English accent in this movie is ridiculous. I think it makes no sense. And, I mean, it was never done like that in Hollywood. It still shouldn't have to be. We're talking about a very diverse culture. It makes total sense. And, I mean, it's an ancient culture. Like, we don't even know what they spoke like. We don't even know.
Yeah, man. Well said. I think Denzel is phenomenal. There's a lot of criticism, though, of his performance. I keep seeing online that he was miscast. First of all, this is Denzel Washington. This is Denzel fucking Washington. Are you kidding me? Miscast? He was a delight to watch on screen. So delicious. A character that I could watch all day in a scene.
And the movie needed it.
And he was so intriguing. And a lot of the characters were similar to characters we'd seen in Gladiator. You know, like you said, they did a good job making Lucius obviously similar to Maximus, but really he doesn't hone into Maximus's best traits until later in the film. But what makes him different than Maximus is that rage. You know, not that Maximus didn't feel rage, but he had reserved rage that he would save for the arena, whereas Lucius is very much a character who wears his emotion on his sleeve, on the surface. Even in the opening of the movie, he's playing with the wheat seeds, and then he like almost hits a chicken because the chicken pissed him off.
Yeah.
And his wife says, Hano, relax, like take it easy, basically, because he's got this anger inside of him. And I think that was really exciting. It brought the character so much energy and made him different than Maximus, but he has so many qualities that Maximus has. But Macrinus was a character that, unlike any we'd seen in Gladiator, or I feel like ancient epics in the past, the twin emperors, you know, Joseph Quinn and Fred Hetchinger played great roles somewhere in the realm of Commodus, somewhere around that.
But you don't want to do it again.
Exactly, but they're different, and I like how they made them both opposite ends of a spectrum of being crazy emperors. But Macrinus was so enticing to watch, so playful on screen, so enigmatic and colorful and vibrant, and just doing, you didn't know what Denzel was going to do in a scene.
Yeah.
Whether it's opening a scene with him fiddling his fingers and you can hear all of his jewelry to see how excited he was, the big grin. He's so intelligent of a character, and we learned so much more about him throughout the course of the film, that he was once a slave that Marcus Aurelius owned, and he went from slave to being in control of an empire. And where else can you do that but Rome? It's such a great character, and Denzel, I think, was perfect. He was so good in this role.
Yeah. I think that it's one of the best villains, if not the best villain we've seen this year in film. It's right up there with Fade Ralpha, with a couple of others. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal and a scene stealer, and not doing another emperor as your villain was the right way to go.
I agree.
You want to sidestep the audience. They have expectations, and
even though they are villains.
Yeah, they are villains, but they're not the big bad.
Yeah.
Even though this movie does hit so many of the same beats, you still don't want to repeat yourself entirely. Having another crazy evil emperor would have been kind of boring. And, you know, Gaeta and Caracalla are that, but not as extreme as Commodus. And it's actually based in reality of the real Macrinus. He took power in Rome. He basically stole the throne.
He helped get Caracalla.
Yeah.
He helped Caracalla plot against Gaeta.
Yeah, and it's based on historical records, and it makes a lot of sense. And I thought it was really fun and surprising. And, you know, I walked into this movie thinking Joseph Quinn was going to kill his brother and become a crazy emperor. But you know what? I was pleasantly surprised that that's not what happened, because I don't want to know everything that's going to happen in the movie. I like to be surprised, and Denzel's Macrinus was everything, including surprising, and everything you want in a villain.
And how can you watch this movie and watch the scene where Macrinus takes over the Senate, basically, after he kills Gaeta by holding the knife in the hand of Caracalla? The next day in the Senate, Consul Dundas is named as first consul.
First consul, Citizen Dundas!
And then Citizen Macrinus named second consult. And what happens? Caracalla walks away, because who's really in charge here? We have Macrinus as consult 2 in charge. And what's he do? This is one of my favorite scenes the entire year in a movie.
Accurate as
in
hell.
a movie is he takes out the head of Gaeta and starts to play with it in front of the entire Senate. This incredible speech about how he must have power. He's created this disruption in the streets, basically, with the help of the emperors who accidentally killed, well, not accidentally, but killed Marcus, not realizing that would set a riot up. But he takes advantage of that. If you want me to restore order, I must have power. I must have control of the Praetorian Guard while walking in a circle with Emperor Gaeta's head, blood still dripping from his mouth, basically saying, this is going to be your head if you don't do what I say.
And also, he's such a brilliant physical performer and improviser. And I guarantee you, because what Denzel did in that scene was he bent down, so his head was right above Gaeta's severed head, and he was spinning with it like he was looking at all the council members with it. And it's just like little physicalities like that, which really set Denzel apart from really any other actor working today. He's real genius of a performer. And that's what you're getting with Denzel. You're getting these incredible moments, this incredible, like kissing the senator after I own your house. Kisses his hands and kisses him on the cheeks. And just the way he pauses, the beats he takes, the cadence he delivers in. I know nothing happens in Rome unless you've tasted it first.
Yeah, sticks his tongue out.
Why? I mean, this was a crazy society. Why do audiences expect everyone to act like very proper Englishmen? And like, this was a society which took great entertainment in butchering people. Obviously, a lot of people will be off their rocker and be unpredictable. I think it's absolutely believable that this character, this kind of personality would exist back then. And even, it's actually probably toned down.
Probably. But I thought Denzel was phenomenal in this role. I can't wait to talk about Macronus some more.
Also, real quick, this was Denzel Washington's first supporting role in a movie since Antoine Fisher in 2002, which is the movie he directed.
Now that's power.
22 years. This is his first supporting role.
That's insane.
That's wild. That's how much of a fucking goat he is.
Another thing that I keep seeing people complain about is female archers and female soldiers.
They're in the first movie.
I know.
What?
The opening of the movie, the Battle of Numidia, we have female soldiers. Obviously, Arishat, Hanno, Lucius's wife, is also a soldier, just like him, which makes sense to me because you're a city. You're the last free city in Africa that hasn't been taken over, in North Africa that hasn't been taken over by Rome. You're gonna fight
You train everyone,
male, woman, and child,
yeah,
to fight to the death because otherwise you're gonna be taken over. So it makes sense that we have female warriors, but they're in the first movie. Did you not watch Gladiator? There are
the
female
barbarian
warriors.
horde. Battle of Carthage.
The Carthaginians they have female archers on the back of the chariots.
Oh my god! What is wrong with people?
It's crazy.
They're the first movie.
I thought it was sick.
What? A woman can't use a bow?
A woman can't fight in it.
Are you serious?
And what's silly is after this, it's just males fighting the whole time. So they can't have an opening scene, can they?
It's the most macho movie of the year. And you could play. There's one female archer. Are you kidding me?
There's a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers who analyze movies in very negative ways. They are calling out Gladiator 2 for attacking masculinity. I'm like, did we watch the same movie?
What? This is the most macho movie of the year.
There's muscles and swords this whole film. Like, what are we talking about?
This movie's all about brute force.
Paul Mescal fights a rhinoceros in this movie. What are you talking about, guys?
Pedro Pascal fights 4 guys and fucking destroys them. Oh, how is this anti-masculine?
I don't know, man.
This is the most masculine movie of the year.
I think it's because of the emperors are so effeminate. I think that's probably a reason why, as well as Denzel Washington being so sultry, and also probably because he's promiscuous and bisexual as well.
Holy shit, it's ancient Rome.
I know, that's the thing. It's ancient Rome.
It's ancient Rome.
It's pretty normal.
It was very common back then.
It's wild. So
holy shit.
Almost there's 7 huge battle scenes in this movie of men fighting, but it's not enough.
Oh my god. What, because the emperors wore some makeup?
In silk.
They also wore makeup in revolutionary America. They would power their faces.
Right. You ever seen that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they go back to Philadelphia in the 18th century? This is how real British wear. This is the aristocrats wear.
American, like your favorite American in history wore blush. They wore powdered faces and blush.
It's pretty silly.
Oh my God, guys. Yeah, people need to fucking find something better to complain about.
But and then it's just such a good movie, though.
Yeah.
People don't make movies like this anymore. You know, Ridley Scott's a treasure that I hope lives another 20 years and is making movies into his
107?
150s. Yeah, dude, why not? I mean, Clint's still going.
He is.
I didn't say.
I just hope Ridley, have a great diet, walk every day,
He's a
salmon
director, man. The guy's on his feet all the time.
Salmon and spinach.
Dude, whatever he's doing's working. He smokes cigars on set. I think that's going fine for him. But Ridley's a treasure, and people won't ever make epics like this after he's gone, I think. And unless I guess Nolan could do something like this, but no one's doing it. No one's doing ancient epics on this massive of a scale, and people still have so much to complain about when we're so fortunate and so lucky as film lovers, as audience members, to not only exist when movies exist, but to be living in a world where Ridley Scott's still making ancient epics. How lucky are we?
Yeah, man. It's fucking awesome. This movie fucking slaps, man.
And he's already talking about Gladiator 3. He's already talked about how he started the script. He's like 15 pages in. And he talked about this in September. He revealed he's been developing the script for the third film. And it depends, obviously, on the reception for this installment, which clearly means and looks like they're going to go with the sequel because it is killing at the box office around the entire world. And he likened the ending of Gladiator 2 to Godfather Part 2. And he said that the next movie would explore the character's realization that he is now tasked with a continuing reputation that he does not want. He later stated that the movie is in early stages and intended to be the next project he works on, though he also is developing a Bee Gees biopic and another science fiction film. So we'll see what he does next.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so down. I'm down. I can't believe people think that this movie isn't masculine, even though Lucius bites the forearm flesh off of a baboon and screams at it.
Not masculine enough.
Masculine enough.
And kills a baboon while handcuffed.
He scares a baboon with a roar. That's not enough for you guys?
The emperors are too feminine.
They were makeup. I fucking love this movie. And I thought they did a great job with the clues of who Lucius was. It wasn't spelled out for anyone. And
so if you went in not watching the trailer?
Yeah. No, I mean for the characters in the film.
Oh, okay.
So for Lucilla and Macrinus.
Yeah, it's clever.
Because he's always obviously keeping his identity a secret. And it's the little hints, Macrinus is getting a sense for this guy is clearly not from Africa. This poem, he says,
he's got blue eyes.
You have some blue blood in you yet. And Lucilla, seeing him use the sand with his hands, throwing the sword down in the dirt just like Maximus did. But also it was that poem, this reciting of the poem after that fucking awesome one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat, sword-to-sword combat in front of the emperors at the private party, which was a really great fight. And he says that poem in front of Emperor Gaeta. And then Gaeta's trying to recount it with Caracalla in front of Lucilla, and Lucilla catches on, recognizes the poem. And as an audience member, you're like, oh, why does she recognize that poem? And then we see in their, whatever that room is, like it could be a spiritual prayer room or something.
It's Lucius's bedroom, dude.
Lucius's bedroom, okay.
Yeah.
There's the poem is on the ceiling, on the banner. And then also we see essentially Maximus's notebook, which she pulls out, that wooden plate with tied
No, that's not Maximus's notebook. That's Lucius's notebook.
No, it's Maximus's.
No, it's
she said your name was on Maximus's list. That was Maximus's. And it said,
no, that's Lucius's book that he wrote, Scotto and Argento, which are Maximus's horses, just probably like a diary. That, from the way I interpreted, that's a diary.
She said you were on Maximus's list.
What do you? No, but that's no. She said you were on his list.
Yeah. That's what I just said. You're on Maximus's list.
She didn't say Maximus, but what do you mean by that? Why would he have something that Maximus owned?
No. Well, she probably, I don't know. They're just connecting it to the original.
No, but that's clearly, from my eyes, that's a diary that Lucius owned when he's talked to Maximus, who he idolized.
Yeah.
Wrote down
in the cell.
Maximus's. He went home. Today I went to the Colosseum.
I met Maximus.
I met I met the Spaniard. And the Spaniard.
You might be right.
He wrote
Scotto.
This is Argento and this is Scotto.
Yeah.
my horses.
You might be right. You might be right.
And so that's for me. That's his diary. It's his bedroom. Why would Why would Maximus even have a notebook? What do you,
I don't know. They had notebooks.
yeah, but he's a slave.
Yeah, but he had notebooks.
How would he
have you ever seen
gotten
the first film? He's always writing.
How would he have gotten? He didn't even know Lucius was his son. I'm sorry. It's
No, you're right. I think you're right.
no. You can say I am right.
You're right.
Thanks.
Okay,
There
you
go.
won.
There
You
go.
won. You won.
No, it's not about winning. It's about
You won this one. You won it.
So that's I interpreted. It's his bedroom. That's his diary.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I got you. But then, it was a great job of giving clues for the other characters to figure out who he was. And then Macrinus putting it together himself. So that when the senator who is indebted to him for 10 grand from losing all the bets, I own your house. I want your truth. Loyalty. And then he tells him about the plot. And he's
Hack.
like, I know
Quickly.
I know who, and I know why.
There's a plot against the emperors. It's really brilliant.
Also, so performances-wise.
Well, real quick, can I go back to the clues?
Yes.
I love the
clues.
first clue of when Lucius stabs the ground with his sword and then rubs the dirt in his
I think they
hands.
did the same sound effects.
Yeah, it sounded like
I think they did the same exact sound effects.
Because, when we saw Alien Romulus, another legacy sequel to a Ridley Scott film,
This year.
which is it's actually really interesting. 2 came out this year. Where it was a great movie, but when you watched our episode, we talked about how a con for us during that movie was there had to have been 8 or 9 lines from Alien in that movie and from Aliens that were in that movie that were straight up word for word, felt a little out of place, just trying to call back to the original film. Now, in Gladiator, they do that, but they blended it in so much better. They have some of the same lines are said. We have things that are etched on the walls that Maximus says, what we do in life echoes in eternity.
Yeah.
I know those words. Ravi says it, who's the slave doctor. He says it to Lucius when he's fixing him up. He's like, I feel like I know those words. And then also we have another line that's similar where Lucius, after when he's talking with Macrinus about, you'll be my instrument, I'll never be your instrument.
I will never be your
in
instrument.
this life or the next. This life or the next, something that Maximus says in the previous film.
Yeah.
So there are
And
lines.
then strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
Yeah.
Lines that are callbacks to the original film, but I think they made a lot more sense in the situations.
Well, the thing is, in Romulus, they came out of nowhere and didn't make sense for the character to say it, but they smartly made it culturally relevant in the film. Like you said, having it etched in the wall.
lore.
It's lore for Maximus was the most... We got to understand, gladiators and generals and senators were the celebrities of Rome. And especially successful gladiators, they were the Michael Jordan of the culture. Super, super famous. So obviously Maximus was MJ. He was Jordan.
He had a
famous
sponsorship with a sandal company.
Yeah, especially for what he did. You're talking about like the gladiator who killed Commodus the Emperor. I mean, culturally so significant. And so it made sense when they put a line he said often on a wall, then it's culturally relevant. So then when Ravi, the doctor, says it, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's like, oh, because the famous gladiator Maximus always said that. So I like that. Yes, we got some callbacks, but they were more relevant than something like Romulus, where they were kind of just throwaway lines.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah,
Made no
made
sense
no
to
sense
me.
at all. For the character to say that in that moment, it was like, what? It's already dead. But then having Ravi say that, it's like, oh, it's on the tomb of the bones of an ancient of a famous gladiator. Okay, it's culturally significant in this world they created.
Yes. Now
Works way better.
You can go into what you were saying. I just wanted to touch on that.
Performance-wise,
Yeah.
I almost forgot. Sorry. So Lucius and Acacius, the lead and co-lead, so Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal, they did some really great work with their voices, and they dropped their voices an octave. You can really tell they put a lot of work into that because
Strength and honor.
strength and aura. And then Pedro Pascal, like you said, he has that old Hollywood vibe to him. I claim this city for the glory of Rome. It's so helpful because it really immerses you into their character. They don't feel like the Pedro Pascal that we all know so well. Obviously, the accent change helps, but they did a really impressive job dropping their pitch down an octave at least. But also, it's for those angry YouTubers, it's very masculine to have a deeper voice and get into that baritone area. And for me, dropping the voice down helped a lot with the Lucius to be connected to Maximus, because Russell Crowe has an unbelievably deep voice naturally. And it's gravelly, and it's just he's just got a manly voice. There's it's just manly as fuck. That
Cigarettes,
voice.
kid.
Yeah. He's just
ripping butts since a teenager.
Incredible voice.
It is a great voice.
You got to try to say, your character needs to be the son of that person. You also need to try and match that pitch to really make the audience believe you could be their kin. So I think it made sense for Mescal to drop his voice down, and also I think help the character and make the audience believe this is Maximus's son. But they both did a fantastic job with their voices.
And Paul Mescal, I think, was absolutely terrific. This is his first big studio movie, his first blockbuster, his first really big film. He's obviously big in theater and
normal people.
Yeah, but also in television and independent film. You know, he's been coming up as a big independent film actor. However, this is a totally different ballgame, totally different world. Now you're working on a $250, $300 million movie as the lead. Not just a big movie, but the sequel to a film that is absolutely adored by people all over the world, of all walks of life, all ages, generations. And now you're leading the sequel from one of the best actors to ever live, who was the lead of the original with Russell Crowe, filling in his shoes. Tall order. But my goodness, this guy fucking delivered. Paul Mescal, absolutely sensational as Lucius in this film. He was in the running for a while with other actors like Austin Butler and Miles Teller. However, he got the edge because he was in 2023 or 2022 was starring in A Streetcar Named Desire in London's West End. And Paramount Studio executives, Daria Sircek and Michael Ireland, were at one of his performances, and there was numerous shirtless scenes, and his physique just really made the crowd go a little wild every time he was taking that shirt off. And so they kind of said to each other, to quote Sircek, she said, "He played Stanley, and there are several moments where he takes his shirt off, and it was electric. The ladies in the audience were very vocal." And we were like, I think we found our guy.
And Ridley, I believe they went to that performance at the request of Ridley, because Ridley saw him in Normal People and put him on the list of actors he'd like to see for the role.
And then Ridley had 15-minute Zoom call with him and cast him.
Yeah.
He asked him about his past playing Gaelic football and rugby, just to make sure that he can handle the physicality.
Oh, hence the thighs.
Yeah, the thighs. The physicality. So I think that was really cool. And I think it's really interesting to see such talented young actors who most audience members haven't seen before, and then give them a shot like this. I think it's really cool.
It's not new for Scott.
Yeah,
Sigourney Weaver and Alien.
Noomi Rapace.
Oh, yeah, Prometheus. And then you have Brad Pitt and Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
Two of the biggest actresses in Hollywood, Sarandon and Gina Davis. They were the stars, but nobody knew who Brad Pitt was. His first major movie role. Nobody knew who he was. And then you look at, in Gladiator, Joaquin Phoenix, 2000. He had done some tiny indie movies, a Gus Van Sant film here.
Brother of River Phoenix, of course.
Yeah, but like he's a different person, you know? Coming off To Die For.
And then, I mean, Blade Runner with Harrison Ford. No one knew who that guy was.
Who is he?
No name.
Nicolas Cage and Matchstick Men? What? But like he's great at casting. He always has been, and he's not afraid to he's not afraid to put a young actor with very little studio experience on the spot and put him in a huge giant stage like Joaquin Phoenix. I read an interview where he was so nervous he was like ready to vomit most of the times he was about to go onto his scenes. And
he was like 24 years old.
He was dreadfully scared the entire time, and Russell Crowe and Richard Harris had to like constantly calm him down and soothe him, because he didn't think he could do it. And he almost backed out the last minute because of fear. And, you know, that's acting. But, like, Ridley Scott, I think he has a great eye for talent, a great eye for casting. I think Denzel was great casting. I don't care what any of these haters say. Pedro Pascal, fantastic casting. He just knows what he needs. And that's with any Ridley Scott film. It's always so well casted, whether you look at The Last Duel or getting Matt for The Martian. I mean, who else could do The Martian than Matt Damon? That's it. So he has a remarkable talent for picking actors, and he always has. And I think picking young actors who haven't had the big spotlight and thrusting them into the world of a giant movie like this, nobody does it better than Ridley Scott, really.
Yeah, even if you look at a character like Arshot, played by Yuval Gonin, I believe she is an Israeli actress who I'd never seen before, did a great job. And also characters like Ravi, played by Alexander Karim, was fantastic.
Yeah, he's great.
Lior Raz, who plays Vigo, the slave manager or the guy who runs the slave barracks and trains everyone, he's really phenomenal too. And then also, I mean, he cast Barry Keoghan in Gladiator 2 originally. Barry Keoghan was supposed to play Gaeta. He was supposed to play the role that Joseph Quinn took over. He had to back up because of scheduling conflicts. But you can tell that, Barry Keoghan would have knocked it out of the park as well, just like Joseph Quinn did.
He did great.
He did a really phenomenal job. And, I mean, there's also another situation where May Calloway, who plays the lead female in Moon Knight, I can't remember the name of the superhero that she takes on. She was cast in this movie. She filmed in this movie. She filmed for the entirety of the movie. She, I believe, is a character that's involved with Macrinus. Part of his.
She's in 2 scenes.
She's in the background.
Role. She's the one who nods.
It's unsure what she. My guess is she probably played one of his concubines. He has a couple on camera, like the one he nods to, about 2,000 denarii. All right,
she seems to have some power, like his number 2.
Yeah,
in this business.
That's not May. She just is in the background. A couple shots.
No, that is her.
No, it's not her.
That is her.
No,
I looked it up.
We talked about this earlier.
No, yeah, I looked it up to double check.
The woman
who nods is her.
About
yes,
the accountant.
Yep, that's her. They turned her role into a non-speaking role.
Gotcha.
So she doesn't have a credit, but that's the actress from Moon Knight, the one who nods with the gold paint.
Gotcha. Okay, so May Calloway, but we don't know why she got cuts. Probably, maybe it has something to do with plot. Maybe it had to do with some of the storyline. It's unsure. There are a lot of theories out there.
I think it was the Macrinus plot because Denzel actually spoke about other deleted scenes of his. He said they cut a scene where he actually, I quote, "I actually kissed a man in the film, but they took it out. I think they got shaken about it because I kissed a guy full on the lips, and they might have not been ready for that yet."
Ridley came back the other day and said that didn't happen.
Denzel said that he kissed a guy and killed him 5 minutes later in the film.
Let me double check because
Denzel Washington told Gaiety in a video interview on November 2024.
Yeah, and I'm talking about like yesterday. I saw a quote from Ridley Scott saying that didn't happen. Hold on, Gladiator 2, Ridley on why that was cut, blah, blah, blah. Let me pull up to it. He says, they never did. They acted the moment. It didn't happen. That's what Ridley Scott said 2 days ago.
Okay.
So maybe Denzel did do it, or maybe Ridley didn't notice it, or maybe didn't make it into, maybe they didn't get a shot of it. I don't know. But Denzel says he kissed a guy. He
kissed a senator.
Kisses the shit out of a senator all over him. So he does kiss the hell out of a man in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
So
that's true, yeah.
He kisses his cheeks, kisses his hands, kisses his neck like 7 times in one scene.
Tell me.
So I think it's just,
I think that there's also,
I think people get excited on red carpet interviews and they're just like, oh yeah.
So check out this still that I found from Vanity Fair. So this is when Macrinus meets with Lucilla, right?
That's a scene that I'm talking about. So we were talking about this on the movie news today where there's supposedly a 4-hour cut of Gladiator 2, right?
Yes.
And that scene in particular, Anthony just showed me a scene of when Macrinus visits Lucilla from the scene. It makes it seem like she invited him over, right?
Yeah.
And that scene, it seems like it's cut up like crazy, but Anthony just showed me a still where Marcus Acacius is also in the scene. And when I watched the movie for the second time, that scene in particular feels like it's been chopped the fuck up.
Yeah. You leave that scene way too soon.
And it also just goes in an odd direction.
Yeah.
It cuts to Lucilla, and Macrinus he changes subject when the camera's at the back of his head because they probably had to figure out how to cut a bunch of the scene.
And then they talk about the bust of Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really relevant. I totally agree. There had to have been some plot. I think Macrinus had another 20 minutes of screen time at least. So I think
100%. If there's a 4-hour cut,
there's got to be a lot of Denzel's scenes that were just completely axed for the plot.
I mean, and it's possible that May is in that scene too. Who knows?
Yeah. And the thing is, Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut is like 40 minutes longer than the first film, and it's better for it. But the studio didn't want to release a 4-hour movie. So I mean, and it's like there could be some really cool stuff or it would make it into a 4-hour cut if Ridley gets to release it. I'd be down to see it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we don't know why May was cut. No one said it why, but people get cut from movies often. The Thin Red Line, Adrian Brody was billed as the lead actor of that movie. He found out during the premiere while watching in the theater that Terrence Malick cut 98% of his scenes. He had no dialogue in it at all, and the movie turned into Jim Caviezel's film. So, I mean, people get cut from movies all the time. There's a lot of controversy of why. Does it have to do with real-world events going on? I have no idea. I am not Ridley Scott. I'm not Paramount Pictures. Who knows?
It happens. People get cut. It happens.
But I bet you in a 4-hour cut we'll see that character.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
But that's so interesting because that scene in particular when Macronus visits Lucille, I'm like, this scene,
what do they even come here for?
Chopping up like crazy. Like, where is the juice of this scene?
Yeah, when we watched it the second time, it's definitely a weaker scene in the film because it's like, what did they do?
You can just tell that something got, like a lot got cut.
Macronus shows up and then they talk about the bust of Marcus Aurelius and then they leave.
Yeah, well, the conversation is they're talking about something completely different, and then it switches to something else on a dime. Yeah, I found it odd, but when I was watching the second time, I'm like, this scene's clearly been chopped up to hell, but it doesn't matter because the plot's still good.
Now let's get into more of Gladiator 2 and break down these amazing arena battle sequences after our intermission.
I absolutely agree, and if you're curious, guys, and you want to know what the best way to support Raiders of the Lost podcast is. It's becoming a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast. You get awesome perks on there like weekly bonus episodes. We just did an episode on Juror number 2, which was really awesome. Lots of fun. Only people on Patreon have access to that. You can also listen to the ad-free version of every single main episode like movie news or this episode, for example. You can listen to it without ad breaks at all on Patreon. Access to our Discord, all kinds of stuff happening there. Sign up today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast. Another great way to support the show. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple. I know. Every podcast you listen to says, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple, please. Because it helps. It really is important. It helps us chart.
James didn't change his voice at all.
Helps us. Actually, this is me changing my voice. That was my real voice. Helps us get seen on by new viewers, new listeners. It helps build reputability to the show, helps us get the in with Spotify and podcast platforms like that to do cool events and have really awesome opportunities because you listeners have been leaving those reviews. We're at about 3,000 on Spotify right now and a little over 2,000 on Apple, but we got to get those numbers up, everybody. I want 10,000 by the end of 2025. At 4,000 Apple ratings, you all know I'm getting a tattoo of Anthony's choice.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty embarrassing. We'll find out. I'm also going to read a review out in just a minute from Apple Podcasts. Also, subscribe on YouTube. Do the things with the buttons on your phone in the right ways, and you'll be able to follow us anywhere you want. It's pretty easy, guys. Also, another great way to support the show is just to share us. Word of mouth is the best way for a podcast to grow organically. So just let everyone know about this kick-ass show.
Pesticide-free. All organic.
All organic.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code there, Raiders10. That'll get you 10% off your order right now. Movieposters.com has a huge selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their poster library. If you want some Gladiator and Gladiator 2 posters, go to their website. They have a huge library of them. Now, the holiday season is coming up. It's almost Christmas time, everyone. There are movie lovers in your life. Did you get them a present yet? If not, the present you should get them is their favorite movie poster, and the best place to do that is at movieposters.com. So go there and get a gift for the movie lover in your life, or get yourself a Christmas present. You deserve it. You deserve a movie poster of Kill Bill, just like James. So again, for all of your poster needs, go to the best in the business, movieposters.com, and use our promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order right now.
All right, let's get into our movie quotes competition, Anthony. Are you ready?
Ready.
Here we go. Guess what movie this is from. I don't know why you died, Goldie. I don't know why, and I don't know how. I never even met you before tonight, but you were a friend and more when I needed one. And when I find out who did it, it won't be quick and quiet like it was with you. It'll be loud and nasty, my kind of kill. And when his eyes go dead, the hell I send him to will seem like heaven after what I've done to him. I love you, Goldie.
Sin City.
Yeah.
Good one.
It's Marv.
Great impression.
I forgot what his voice sounds like in it. It's like very old and
Yeah, just Mickey Rourke.
stuff. It's Mickey Rourke.
You could do heavy drugs for 30 years.
And cigarettes.
All right, here's my quote. There are 5 basic contaminants in a crime scene. I'll skip to the worst one. Other cops.
It's a great line.
There are 5 basic contaminants in a crime scene. I'll skip to the worst one. Other cops.
Insomnia?
Nope.
I don't know.
The Bone Collector.
Oh, man.
Bone Collector.
I haven't seen that movie in a while.
It's a good one.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching it when I was a kid, man.
Yeah. It's a good
Angie
one.
and Denzel.
Yeah. Denzel's so hot he pulled Angie, even though he's quadriplegic.
Denzel, man.
Only Denzel could do that.
Got that game. Moving on to guessing this movie release here, Anthony. What year did Fantastic Four come out?
Which one?
The first one.
First one. Was it 2004? Yes.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
It's wrong. 2005.
Ah, man. They were a year late. What year did Crimson Tide come out?
Fucking love this movie from Tony Scott, which came out in 1995.
Yes, correctamundo. Well done. Well done, sir.
Anthony.
Scott fan.
Oh, yeah. Love Tony. The Scots knew what actor to use in their movies.
Yeah, for
Denzel. Who directed Lord of War?
Good question. I'm going to say, was it... Oh, damn. Was it Andrew Nichols?
It was Andrew Nichol.
Yes!
Not Nichols.
That's what I meant. Get out of here. Get out of here. You motherfucker. You motherfucker. No S. Wrong.
Wrong again.
You fucking idiot.
Oh, man, dude.
Oh, man.
Got him. You got him. Can't be
S.
slipping.
The S.
Drop the S. It's cleaner.
All right, here's a quiz question for you. Denzel Washington had a role in what Kenneth Branagh Shakespearean adaptation?
Oh, what's this movie called? Oh, this came out so long ago. Fuck. I'm not gonna get this, man.
Talk.
It's like 1980s, man. It's an old movie. What's it called?
Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our unsubscribes.
Okay. Who we got for haters this week, Anthony? I'll pull up a written review while you do that.
First up, we got John Connolly. Hard to pick a favorite one for me in terms of Stephen King adaptations. The Shining, The Shawshank Redemption, Misery would be my top 3. You've only read 5 King novels? Unsubscribed. Croquet, by the way. I said, I'll catch up. I've read 5, I think.
Maybe.
Dermot on our Robert Eggers episode. It's Bjork from Iceland, not Bjorn from Sweden. Unsubscribe. I called her Bjorn like 6 times.
I did too.
So Curtis made a great meme for us. It says it's a picture of like this dog with his hands in his pockets. And it says, when the brothers make a mistake, but you don't unsubscribe because you're such a chill guy. I accidentally tagged the wrong person. I tagged someone else. I was tagged Evan. And then Curtis said, hey, I made that one. I guess I can't unsubscribe, though, because I'm such a chill guy. So he truly is a chill guy. Thank you. Thank you, pal.
I guess that's the new meme image.
It's cute, yeah.
It's like a dog with
It's
a
funny.
sweater, hands in
Yeah.
his pockets, like, yeah, I guess this is fine.
This one's good. London Brazilian Dance. Preferred the one on the right with longer hair. Unsubscribed. So is my girlfriend. Next up, Jeff Rowe. On a clip we made. I swear, one of you said critically acclaimed. Unsubscribed. No, wait, that's awesome. Resubscribed. It's
possible.
Critically acclaimed.
It's possible. Probable, actually.
Do you get it, though? Critically acclaimed?
Oh, I get it, Anthony.
So do you understand the joke?
I understand.
You've what? You have experience in that area?
that episode in The Office where Dwight goes to Toby, where is the clitoris? Where's the clitoris?
He asks Andy.
No, Toby.
Toby. He asks Toby. Oh, my God. All right, Not So Slim Shady on Penguin episode. Le is pronounced like la in French, so it's actually La Samurai. Just a friendly heads up. Also, unsubscribed.
Thank you.
Thanks for the correction.
I had
A
no
nice,
idea.
sweet correction. Thank you, pal. Dottie,
Yeah,
7.
usually it's like, idiots! Morons! I'm never listening again. These idiots don't speak French.
Not everyone should have a podcast. On Robert Eggers, Dottie 7. All right, you guys mixed up the Northman and the Lighthouse 150 times. I can't handle it anymore. Unsubscribe. Sorry, we were all over the place.
About that.
Both of us were just like a mess.
I started, then you took it over.
Yeah, I kept calling. We just kept mixing them up. Next up, Eli Thomas. It's bad luck to unsubscribe. Reference to the lobster. It's bad luck to kill a seabird.
The Lighthouse, Anthony.
Oh my God! Did I just do it again?
You said the lobster.
Oh my God! I'm done. Oh my God! I'm
All right, we need a new co-host for me, guys. Send in your resumes.
All right, next up, Solomon went to bed after listening to this episode of Goodfellas Movies from Memory and started logging and reviewing Goodfellas as a rewatch on my letterbox by accident. That's how good we did. Unsubscribed. Thanks,
yeah.
pal. Appreciate it. Dylan Dugas. I will not accept goblet hate. Unsubscribed from James. James and his goblet hate.
I don't hate any Harry Potter movies, guys. I don't hate a single one. I love them all.
You always speak down about. You always talk down about Goblet.
I think it has wonderful parts to it. However, there are some things that
irk you.
I don't love.
All right. Well, Dottie's not going to be happy. Dylan's not going to be happy about that.
It's okay. I get it. A lot of people love Goblet of Fire. I love that movie too. But there's a ranking that you have to do, and it's bottom 3 for me.
Well, at least it's over order now.
Yeah.
It didn't used to be.
Order's bottom now.
Thank you. Finally see the light. About time. I've been there by myself for years, for decades.
When you were 16, this movie's shit. Fuck Order. Fuck Order the Phoenix. Why do I sound like this as a 15-year-old?
All right, Babu Freak on our Robert Eggers episode. They called Bjork Bjorn so many times I have no choice but to unsubscribe. Again, so sorry. Jacob Berta. Prometheus was actually a Titan. I'm going to have to unsubscribe. Not a god. Killa K's. Usually watch you guys on YouTube, but during my long run, I put it on Spotify. Tell me why I couldn't figure out who was talking. And for completely throwing my brain for a loop the entire episode, I will unsubscribe. Sorry, pal. We get that a lot. Next up. Stop trying to make double feature happen, James. It's not going to work.
Double feature, baby.
Regina George from Joshua Rain. And that is all for our unsubscribes.
All right, we have a great 5-star written review from L.A. Alman. Thanks, Raiders. 5 stars. Listen to the show every day.
Nice.
You don't know what wonders you have done for me during the best and worst times of my life. I hope you guys know how much you have changed me and so many other cinema fans. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, pal.
L.A. Alman, thank you so much.
Wonderful.
From the bottom of our hearts. I like how you said that. So many other cinema fans.
That's what we like to hear.
Cinema, baby.
Now, before we get into our episode, let's remind everyone, we're actually going to Greece.
Oh, my gosh.
We're going to Greece in June.
Forgot.
And we still have a bunch of tickets left to join us in Greece for a 7-day trip all over the historical sites and cuisine landmarks of the country.
Don't we have a coupon code dropping this week?
We have a coupon code dropping this week, which is why I brought it up. So for Black Friday, we're going to be doing a $200 off coupon code, which will go into effect later next week. We'll keep you updated with when you can get those $200 off tickets. But in the meantime, stay tuned. Check out any information about our Greece trip on our Instagram highlight story, and feel free to DM us anytime on our Instagram if you have any questions about our Greece trip. 7 days in late June. It's going to be epic. Most of it's paid for. Just pay for your ticket and then free food most of the time. Lots of activities. We're going to see a ton of sites. We're going to have a local guide. Crazy tours all over the place.
Anthony will read you goodnight stories every night and tuck you in.
I will. But it's going to be a blast. A hotel's paid for. It's all included in your ticket. So if you're curious, go on our Instagram. Check out that highlight. It says Greece Trip on our Instagram page. Or feel free to DM us anytime. That Instagram highlight has a ton of questions and answers that we've already gone through with a bunch of listeners. So if you're interested, check it out, and we'll keep you posted with more information about the coupon code.
Yeah. Anthony, what's your streaming recommendation, though? You skipped ahead.
Yeah, because I didn't do one yet. How about you tell us your
Anthony's streaming recommendation is to sign up for our Greece trip.
Yes.
My streaming recommendation is to watch Chernobyl, the miniseries, on Max.
You can watch it on Max. That's a great series. I recommend you check out this movie on Amazon Prime. So it's over here on Prime on the app. As I pull it up, I just want to make sure I got it right.
Pick a movie, man.
Spartacus is on Prime.
There we go.
Which has a reference in Gladiator.
It does. There's a Spartacus reference where someone shoots an arrow at the general, Marcus
Cassius,
yeah. Who was obviously fired by Lucius, but all of the gladiators say, it was me. I did it.
Great Spartacus reference.
Spartacus reference. We'll talk more about that in a bit in terms of the camaraderie built with Lucius and the other gladiators, but I want to talk about Harry Gregson Williams because one of the major changes with Gladiator from Gladiator 2 is Hans Zimmer did not come back to do the score for this film. Now, in January 2024, it was reported that Harry Gregson Williams would compose the score from the film, taking over duties from Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard, who scored the first film. And Hans Zimmer stated that he decided not to return because he did not want to repeat his work from the first film. In an interview with Curzon, he said that the film was in really good hands with Gregson Williams, who had started his career as Zimmer's assistant. Gregson Williams wrote 100 minutes of original score for the film and used some of Zimmer and Gerrard's musical cues from the first film. And I think that Gregson Williams did an absolutely incredible job with this film. It is similar enough to connect to the first film, but also he did his own thing with it, which I think was important. I think the best thing to do would not be to try to do a Hans Zimmer impression, but to use some of the same themes, some of the same moments, and use that here and there and sprinkle it in, but do your own thing. And I really loved this original score from Gregson Williams. I've been listening to it nonstop since, and man, it gets me going, man. It's really fun, but also great up and down beats. He was able to do the great bombastic action that Hans is a genius at, and then the emotional beats, the softer beats, the lighter moments, the afterlife, all of that tying in with different kinds of instruments and different types of music.
Yeah, he did a bang-up job. It's hard to follow in the footsteps of Hans Zimmer, and especially one of his best scores, and one of, if not my most listened-to score of all time. But Gregson Williams, he's no stranger to Ridley Scott. He's done a bunch of Ridley Scott movies the last 15 years. And I think he did an excellent job. I've been listening to the score all week. I loved it in the film. I loved it even more the second time. And he differentiated himself enough from Zimmer. Zimmer and Gladiator, it's heavy brass, heavy percussion, with the vocalizations of Lisa Gerrard. And then in this film, Gregson Williams went heavy, fast strings. There's a lot of great string work in this score with different vocals, more tribal and male-oriented vocals a lot of the time. But then he did connect to the original music in really beautiful ways and effortless ways that really does have a great cohesive element and feeling to it. And I loved it. I loved the score, and I think he knocked it out of the park. It suited everything about the film, and it did really help the movie soar.
Can we talk about why Lucilla is still alive?
Yeah, why is she still alive?
So Lucilla, obviously, the daughter of Marcus Aurelius, the brother of Commodus, the killed emperor from Gladiator, exiles her son at the end of the events of the last film, as we see in a flashback sequence here, with a different actor playing a young Lucius here, who is put on a horseback, told by his mother, "You have to leave now. Men will come and kill you if you don't leave." And he goes and ends up surviving in North Africa. First, we see him in Cairo, and then he eventually makes it to North Africa in a city there, and Numidia is where he ends up growing up. Now, Lucilla is still alive. How is Lucilla still alive if she could be seen as potential problem for someone who takes power? When I watch it, I think number one, Lucilla's here because she helps connect the audience to the first film.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, Connie Nielsen as Lucilla is a strong connection to Gladiator, a character who we felt so much empathy for in the first film, someone that we loved seeing in that first film. Great performance, really important character. I think that's the reason why she's here first, is to bring us back into the world and connect us to the first film.
She did a great job too.
Yeah. And then, but from an objective position, why is she still alive? How has no one killed her? I think because she's a woman, she can't become emperor in ancient Rome. She doesn't have a stake for the throne. And since her son is not around, there's really no need to kill her. And also, the people of Rome love Lucilla.
There's a great line in there. Yeah.
If
the
you kill
people adore her.
Do we have to kill Lucilla? I love etching her in this movie as Caracalla is like, do we have to kill Lucilla? And Macrinus just lies through his teeth. If you don't kill her, you will know no peace.
You never know peace.
It's great. And I think that's another big reason. Because the people of Rome love her. Commodus is gone. Whoever took power, they don't explain who, probably made it seem like, oh, don't worry, it won't be like before. It's going to be fine. Commodus is gone. He's the problem. Let me be in charge and I'll take care of things. We can assume someone like Macrinus took over. And just ended up, the power shifted to their sons, the Gaeta and Caracalla. So I think because she can't inherit the throne, her son's gone, the people love her. She does have immense strategy. She's got great intelligence and great chops with politics, so she probably is a useful tool. Because what does Maximus say multiple times to her in the first film? She's great at survival. And as she said in this film, I've had the sword of a man pointed at my neck every day, basically since Maximus died.
And she's put into
since my father died.
She's put into the craziest situation of anyone in this film. She has to watch her husband fight her son to the death. Imagine that. It's crazy. So she actually has so much emotional stakes in this film, narratively heavily invested into the storyline, and I think it was really smart to include her so extensively in this story, to use her character as a really powerful piece of the puzzle, just like in the first film. Again, trying to overthrow the current emperor, trying to make a deal, and trying to bring peace back to Rome, which is what her father wishes. She's trying to do the same thing that her father. She's trying to do what her father wanted, but she can't do it with battle and with the loyalty of an army. So she does it politically and with her influence and with her allies, because she can't be a warrior and she can't command an army and she can't gain the loyalty of an army, but she can gain the loyalty of the Senate, which she has in this film with that secret meeting where the Senate secretly is behind her because the emperors are insane and the people are unhappy and unruly, and everybody wants a change, but everybody's too afraid to stand up to them. And so she has the loyalty of the Senate by the end of the first act of this movie.
Thrax, the senator, says that great line, the Senate follows power. Take control and the Senate will follow.
Mm-hmm. Which is what happens with Macrinus.
Exactly. Now, did you notice any filmmaking issues in this movie?
Filmmaking issues?
Yeah. Did you notice any focus issues?
Yes. There's a few shots of low-light sequences. A couple of Connie Nielsen shots were pretty out of focus.
And a Denzel shot was pretty out of focus, too.
Yeah.
And they were they were long shots, maybe like 15 seconds long. And they were a bit out of focus.
Yes.
And, obviously on a big screen, in IMAX especially, it's very noticeable. And it's interesting because Ridley obviously shoots with so many cameras. I mean, if you stayed for the credits, you saw that they had all the way HCam operators. Obviously, with the big action sequences, he shoots with 7 to 8 cameras like he did in this film. And
he does with dialogue scenes too.
Yeah, but not all of them, obviously. I mean, there's some shots that's just one cam.
No, he never does. He rarely does one cam.
No, but I mean, you literally can't put 7
if it's like one person in a room. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
But I'm saying dialogue scenes. Like,
it depends on the setting. In the jail cell, you can't put 7 cameras in there.
He likes to use 18 cameras in each room.
There's a GoPro on Paul Mescal's face this whole film.
He does bullet time.
They CGI'd it out.
He bullet times every scene.
Those moments took me a bit out of the scenes, and I will admit that it was a bit jarring to me because they were extensive shots that were held while a character's speaking. It wasn't horrible, but it's definitely something that's still been on my mind.
There's one shot they even sharpened in post, and you can tell it was digital grain from sharpening.
It was Thrax,
yes,
in the firelight.
So I'm guessing it flew under the radar because there were Video Village's smaller screens, obviously. I guess that could...
I mean, it's 2024, man. Video Village is massive. I mean, that's not true at all.
So, I'm talking about when you have multiple screens.
Yeah, no, I think
they have like Scorsese does it too. He'll have a board with like 4 4 screens, But I'm saying,
Yeah, but it's not like it's like this big.
I know, but I'm saying it's probably like not even. It's pretty small still. It's pretty small.
They're still pretty
But
big.
I'm just trying to come up with a speculative answer here.
Well, you know, but you're jumping to like you're
no,
doing
I'm not jumping to conclusions. It's called speculation.
No,
It's called the theory. I'm not jumping to a conclusion.
you're saying that you're saying that Ridley Scott looks at a 2x2 screen.
Dude, I am trying to come up with why it happened, okay? I'm trying to come up with how it happened. I'm just theorizing how this could happen in a major,
I'm just saying
gigantic film.
your wording makes it seem like
I'm
you're
not
there.
jumping to conclusions. I'm theorizing. It's a theory. I'm guessing. There's a couple of things that play into factor, all right? Super low light, long lens, really hard to get that focus, especially if someone moves. Very shallow depth of field. It looked like they use a lot of practicals and the sensitivity of digital cameras nowadays. You don't really need to throw much light into the scenes anymore. It looks like they did that in this film. If you're using a long lens like they are in that scene where you're shooting multicam, you got to hide the cameras. So that you got to put a couple of them pretty far away, especially for a side character. It might have been a really long lens with that shallow depth of field, and then it might have just flown under the radar on Video Village.
Probably.
That's what I'm saying. That's my not jump to conclusion. That's like I'm just trying to figure out like how it happened.
No, I was just saying your tiny screen.
I didn't say it's like an inch by 2.
You said 2x2.
I'm saying, well, it can't. It's not like they had an IMAX screen at Video Village, James. I'm saying he has. I'm guessing. I've never been on a Ridley Scott set, but I've seen Scorsese sets, and I've seen some other directors and what they do for Video Village, and the screens aren't that big.
Yeah, no.
They're not that big. All right, you're not that guy. I'm just saying,
Not
like,
that guy.
I'm trying to figure out how that flew, how that got past them. Oh, those are my
Multiple
guesses.
scenes, but I think you're spot on with using practical lighting, having a shallow depth of field because your settings, because you're not using a lot of light, you don't have a large focal length, and so not a lot's in focus, and probably
an inch wide screen.
When you're doing maybe 10 takes, it's probably the best take. And Ridley's probably like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
It's the best take.
Yeah. But I did notice there's 3 pretty out of focus shots of characters out of focus.
Yeah. And I was like, please move into the focus.
I know, yeah. There was one where the focus puller was like struggling, racking it.
Yeah.
He like couldn't find them.
That's what I mean.
I was like, who's fucking pulling focus in a Ridley Scott movie? I think he got fired.
No one's perfect.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. People make mistakes. There's mistakes in every movie. But, you know, those were just
The crew is in Gladiator.
Yeah, I know. But that was... They literally are.
There's a guy in jeans in Gladiator.
There's 4 guys in jeans in Gladiator.
He knows he could get away with it. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. It's
But I
good.
mean, the rest of the fucking filmmaking is insane, though. It's insane. It's wild stuff.
But let's talk a little bit more about the plot. You know, I like the plot. Exiled Lucius, who now goes by Hanno. His wife Arishot and him live in Numidia. The city gets attacked by Rome, conquered, and then he gets sold into slavery, bought by Macrinus after defeating and killing a baboon in an arena.
He eats monkeys.
And then moves on to eventually become the slave of Macrinus, fighting in front of the emperors in that Gladiator 1v1 at the party for entertainment, until he finally enters the Colosseum and becomes the new show of the city.
Rhino fight was phenomenal.
Amazing.
Rhino fight was amazing. I had an absolute blast. It looked great. It was brutal. Lots of blood and gore. People were getting fucking thrown into walls in this movie like wild, and it was really exciting.
It's clever, too. You know, this is something that Ridley wanted to put in the first film. Couldn't do it. He storyboarded it. Just couldn't fit it in the budget. And also, I don't think it would have looked as good. But the CGI looked really good on this Rhino.
Yeah.
I was very convinced, and I thought it was so epic. But in the second time when the Rhino and the rider comes out of the big door, I was just like, let's go!
Yeah, I was like, oh, man.
And it's really cool. You know, this is a point where Lucius, he's starting to prove himself in front of the other gladiators. He does it when he fights Vigo. He shows the punishment he's willing to take, as well as his stamina and also his willingness to keep going and keep standing up. And he also, throughout the course of the film, starts to build leadership amongst the gladiators, which starts here because he's building that reputation just like Maximus did in the Colosseum. He defeats this rhinoceros by outsmarting the rider and tricking the rhinoceros and the rider to ride right into a wall, breaking its horn, putting it in, incapacitating it, and then killing the gladiator on top of it. But what does he do that Maximus does as well, which is very important going forward for the mob, for the city to see, is he refuses the requests of the emperor. The emperor wants him to kill. He asks the gladiator who's about to kill Lucius, asks for death or mercy. Lucilla begs for mercy, who believes this might be my son. The Gator grants mercy, but then Lucius says no mercy from a Roman soldier, and then he kills the gladiator himself after refusing what the emperor wanted, just like Maximus did in 16 years ago.
Yeah, defy the emperor. And I like how Gaeta's performance from Joseph Quinn, he seemed to pretend to be tapping into the gods. Really,
yeah,
he kept acting as though the gods were speaking through him, because he believes himself to be chosen by divinity.
And that's what many
emperor.
people believe their emperors were, especially in ancient Egypt.
And kings too, kings and queens too. They believe that. So I really like that aspect of Joseph Quinn's performance, which
the gods have spoken.
And he was even talking to himself. He's like, they're speaking through me.
Yeah,
and he seemed to really believe that himself as an emperor, which I thought was really fascinating. And then the second arena battle was the naval battle, which was just so fucking epic. It was crazy sharks in the Colosseum, and I really like Lucius's speech, because this is where he's in front of the other gladiators, and he's like, this is about survival. Survive. They actually had written a monologue for him, and they shot it a bunch of times, like an inspiring monologue. And Paul Mescal said that he wasn't feeling it, and it makes total sense. I mean, he does do a monologue at the end, but like, how many monologues are you going to do in a movie? And so he asked Ridley if he could just cut the whole monologue out and just say those 2 lines. And they shot it in one take, and Ridley loved it. And that was what was printed for the movie.
Yeah, he does say other things there too, like stay on my command, on me, and then he leads them. But I think it's smart. At this point, he's been earning the reputation of being the best gladiator or a leader. He's building trust with the other gladiators. I will say that the first film, I think, does a better job of really showing that camaraderie between Maximus and a couple of gladiators, with Jaimon Hunzu and then the Austrian actor, who are his go-to guys. I felt more of a brotherhood between them than I do with Lucius and the other gladiators here, but they do a pretty good job. I think the monkey mocking thing is funny when Lucius is purchased and he enters Macrinus's dining hall with all the other gladiators, and they all start making monkey and baboon sounds. It's a joke, and they're all making fun of him, and he takes it and he laughs. And then he has a couple of guys that he communicates with regularly when they're being transported inside the carriages. You know what I mean? But I feel like they tapped into Ravi to be that sort of comrade in the barracks, which worked really well. I liked Ravi a lot, and he connected to the third act really brilliantly by having to go in more in the other army. But with the other gladiators, I feel like they didn't do as well of a job connecting Lucius to the other gladiators, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the other name is Hagen. The
yeah.
big guy. The Austrian. I totally agree. And the reason for that is there were more characters in this movie, especially more characters in Rome that they were spending time with in the film, as opposed to with Lucius.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Lucilla, Acacius, the 2 emperors. Then you have your new villain in Macrinus. So that's a lot of characters just right there. Then there's even more supporting characters in Rome. So the story just had too much going on in other directions to focus enough on the other gladiators.
I bet you the 4-hour cut has more, though.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. For sure. I would like to see that 4-hour cut, man. I would really like to see it. What did you think about the naval battle?
The naval battle was amazing. I think it's my favorite part of the whole movie. It's absolutely astounding. I want to watch BTS stuff. I'm assuming they did it the same way with the outer wall, with having the boats on wheels and obviously the water.
I gotta see behind the scenes.
Yeah,
when
obviously the water CGI again. Incredible CGI visual effects. But I think it was so excellent, the ramming into the other ship. It was really clever to have. Lucius is a great leader, a great commander, a great general. He has his ship. They go sideways against the other ship, and they destroy all of their oars. And then they do a 180, and then they ram perpendicular, T-boning the other ship. It's really brilliant tactics.
And they pulled their oars so they wouldn't get hurt.
Exactly, yeah. So you don't want those oars to get boo-boos and get hurt.
No hurt oars in this faction.
It was really brilliant. And I loved the naval battle so much. And I didn't mind how quick it was. I think it was the perfect length. It was really great editing as well, this entire film. But the naval battle was really special.
The ships are going to hit each other pretty quickly. It's not that big of an arena.
Exactly. It was really cool. I think it was a special scene in an action movie. We've never seen anything like that, doing a naval battle in a Coliseum before. That was so cool. It's a thing that's always been theorized, debated over, and Ridley Scott's like, fuck it, let's put it in. And also sharks, so freaking cool. And anyone who's complaining about it, you know what? It's a movie, guys. It's a movie.
Yeah, I saw historians say that Romans probably didn't even know what a shark was. I'm like, they had a navy. They traveled the world. They must have encountered sharks.
I'm sure they did.
They must have.
Probably.
They had to have. Like, they must have fished some out of the water or something.
I love how some historians pretend like they lived in ancient Rome.
Yeah. You're going off of a bunch of etchings in stone, man. It's like, come on, and some writings. Like, there's not that much. There's a lot, but like, we don't know exactly what it was going on.
Yeah. And again, we have a similar plot where we have a general who can overthrow the city and overthrow the emperors. And I think Cassius, played by Pedro Pascal, is a highlight in this film. Really powerful character who, even though we see him conquering a city, you can see the regret in his face. You can see the control that the emperors have over him, threatening him literally with a sword after coming back from victory, a knife to his neck, basically. Shows you the kind of pressure and tension he's under, and if he doesn't do as the emperors wish, then he's probably going to get killed, and so wouldn't Lucilla. So he's a character that you understand his motivations of why he's a general. And also, he's plotting against the emperors. He has an army that will arrive in Ostia, the port of Rome, in 10 days. And there is a plot for him to unite with his army, who will all be loyal to him, 5,000 men, just like Maximus and Gladiator. Similar plot, but you know what? I don't care. And we just have to wait 10 days of the games until Marcus can link up with his warriors and come back and overthrow the emperors, which obviously they're plotting in that secret chamber with Lucilla and the other senators, so that the Senate can get power back and we can restore what Marcus Aurelius' dream of Rome was, which, like Lucius says to Ravi, there was a dream of Rome, but it was so fragile that you had to whisper it.
I would actually argue that Cassius is the most like the Maximus archetype in this film.
That's actually a good point.
Stoic general who is tired, done with war, wants to stop fighting, just wants to have a simple life, and he's stuck. And it's basically a lot like the Maximus figure.
Respite from battle.
I wish for respite from war. And forced to fight in the Colosseum.
That's a great point.
Not unlike Maximus.
Also,
berated by an emperor in a white robe,
and also had a relationship with Lucilla.
Exactly. He is Max. He lived his hero's dream.
Well, that's what, and they connect him to Maximus because he talks about Maximus, like he served under Maximus. It sounds like
he said he trained under Maximus. He didn't say the line, but I found in research.
He says it to Lucius in the ring.
He said he would have died for Maximus.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you can imagine he was one of Maximus's soldiers.
And he also said, I saw
bravery in the
Colosseum once.
And it was definitely when Maximus took on the emperor.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I think Pedro just did a terrific job in this role.
I think he was great. And again, with the vocal work he did in that, he just felt like a different human being, and he did an outstanding job performing.
And it's a great plot by Macrinus to slowly keep building influence, sponsoring gladiators, getting pressure on specific senators, building his wealth, and learning the secrets of everything that's happening in the shadows behind the curtains of Rome, until he's able to figure out that Lucius is probably this long-lost son of Lucilla. How much blue blood do you have? Perhaps the heart of a Roman beats inside that chest. And, he has this plan where after Marcus is killed by the emperors in the arena and there's the riots, he uses that to take out Gaeta with the hand and knife of Caracalla. And obviously it's smart to go after Gaeta because Gaeta's the strong, smart twin. Caracalla, obviously they're not identical, they're fraternal. Caracalla is weak, less intelligent, and more susceptible to strong leadership.
Well, did you figure out what was happening to Caracalla?
I was trying to figure out because he says that what does Gata says that line about
the disease from his loins is traveling into his brain.
Yeah.
He has syphilis.
Oh.
He has an STD, same thing Al Capone died from. He never got treated. That's why he went mentally mush.
It's getting worse every day.
That's what's happening to him. I mean, it's not confirmed, but that's my guess is that Caracalla has syphilis in this movie, and it's been rotting his brain because it hasn't been treated.
You're a smart guy.
Thanks, man.
That's really smart. I was trying to figure that out. I'm like, what do they mean by that?
That's why I get paid the big bucks, man.
The medium
Yeah,
bucks.
Caracalla has syphilis. I mean, makes a lot of sense for the promiscuous nature of the emperor. To have, obviously, lots of lovers. Imagine the parties. And so they don't know how to treat that illness. So, makes sense. Coming from the loins, STD.
And he's also the most childlike of the two. He's very much like a little brother to Gata, who's a strong brother and probably the older one and has more control over the empire. He's the one that decides whether gladiators live or die in the arena. It's always him that's channeling the gods. So Macrinus takes out Gata, the stronger brother, so that he can manipulate the weaker brother, Caracalla, to his will by always seeming like a smiling parent or a smiling, like an uncle in a lot of ways, doing that like, oh yeah, I'm just an innocent, yeah, dude, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
For me, that's the disease rotting his brain because Gata says it's getting worse by the day.
True, yeah.
You can see there's a lot of pain in Gata's eyes watching his brother wither away mentally.
No, yeah, sure, but
Yeah,
maybe
but he definitely has always been the powerful one.
they probably had that dynamic, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And Macrinus takes advantage of that after they kill Caracalla. His next plan is he's got to take out, after killing Gata, he's got to take
How
out
about that throat slit?
that throat
man,
slit
it was
was
crazy.
awesome. I love the riot too.
Yeah.
in
Riot
the
was great.
Capitol
Yeah.
outside the palace. It was really fantastic. And then his plan is to take out Caracalla the next day, which he does do in the ear after he sets up the death of Lucilla to come, which he knows will start another riot because the people love Lucilla. And by setting up Lucilla chained to that chariot, that carriage, with the senators with wooden swords, and she has one lone champion, Hanno, who will protect her against the Praetorian Guard. He knows that the death of Lucilla will start a riot, which he'll be able to take control of and take control of the empire by killing Caracalla. Getting control of the Praetorian army led to this, and this is a brilliant, genius plan.
Make it a necessity to use the army and the Praetorian Guard to maintain the mob, and only he can control them.
And it all goes wrong.
And we get great imagery reminiscent of the original Gladiator, the Praetorian Guard circling Lucius when he steps out into the arena to meet with Lucilla and the other senators who are being held. And it's just felt so similar to the first film in a lot of great ways.
Yeah. Dude, there's a shot in this movie that I think is my favorite shot of the year.
What was it?
It's when Marcus Acacius is about to go enter the arena, and so he walks up the steps, cameras behind him following.
Oh, yeah.
And the doors open,
follow.
and we follow him into the arena, into the sunlight, and the Colosseum and the crowd are just straight ahead, 200 feet away. Breathtaking shot. Jaw-dropping. The scale of this film is immense. Incredible stuff.
I like the one, it's the same setup, but they didn't move the camera, and it's when Lucius walks out, and we're behind him, and he's walking towards Lucilla in the center of the arena, and they kept the camera still while he walked into the arena. I'd like that shot,
And
too.
then he goes in the Praetorian Guard surround them. Yeah, that's a great shot,
I thought
too.
that was a fantastic shot. You build the set for real. It's just like, it really knows that, like, when you build these sets 360, like, you can get all sorts of cool angles, and you get to be able to use the architecture in, like, the foreground in fun ways, and really makes it feel like it's a real place rather than using false walls. It makes you feel like you're compacted by this environment as an audience member.
In the third act, sensational. Lucius accepts being the son of Maximus. He accepts Lucilla as his mother. He sends Ravi off on a mission with his father's ring and Marcus Aurelius's ring to go get Marcus Acacius's army outside of Rome to meet them for battle, to take over and challenge the emperors for the throne, or Macrinus for the throne. Lucilla is chained to the chariot, but he has freed his fellow gladiators with the help of Ravi, who now go out and battle with him, and all hell ensues. And as Caracalla says, this is war, real war. It is real war. It's amazing to see a revolt a rebellion happening at the center of Rome, and not just the center of the city, but the center of the empire, which is the Colosseum, the mob.
This is war, real war. And man, we got another one-on-one showdown, mano a mano at the end.
That's all you do.
It was Macrinus versus Lucius. What a great fight it was. And I love how both armies are facing each other on opposite sides of the doorway to Rome, where Romulus and Remus are on top of the statue with the wolf. It's so symbolic for the final moments to happen there, where at the birth of Rome and the rebirth of Rome will happen in the same area. Very, very great parallel. It's very metaphorical. And it was a great battle. Denzel's got some great physicality for a man his age. He says he's been boxing for like 30 years now as like his hobby.
I will say I definitely saw the stunt guy get
on the horse.
Get on the horse.
You see that guy's thighs?
Dude was ripped.
6'4" with fucking
ripped.
giant thighs, muscular thighs.
I don't know if that's Denzel.
I saw it the second time. I saw the guy's legs. I was like, "That's
when
not,
he swung his leg
that's
up.
not a 70-year-old.
Jesus,
That's not a 70-year-old.
Looks like an NFL
It's a
wide receiver.
26-year-old." But the fight was great.
Yeah,
Fantastic, very brutal, very quick, but also it showed how dangerous Macrinus was, not just politically and with his savvy of influence and scheming, but also physically, like very imposing force to give Lucius a run for his money, who's been fighting for a while now. And it was a really fun ending, and just chopping his hand off and then slashing across his throat, and Denzel was just like, fuck. He's so good at getting killed. He sells it so well.
Denzel.
Shot me in the ass. He sells pain really well.
yeah.
He does it in a way no other actor does.
He's one of the best all time.
Because every time when he's in pain, you're like, it looks like he's really in pain.
Yeah, and Lucius's speech is really great. It's very inspiring, and he's able to convince both armies, the Praetorian army, as well as Acacius's army, to put down their swords and work together to rebuild a new Rome. And what I like about this film is it's ambiguous about what's going to happen next. Is Lucius going to lead these men? Is Lucius going to take over control of Rome? Is the Senate going to take over power? There's still corrupt senators around, but a lot of the senators... Poor Gracchus got taken out,
Yes. He got fucking stabbed.
man. Dude got his throat slashed, like, right there.
He's so
Brutal.
old.
Brutal.
Poor guy.
And I like the way the film ends with, obviously, Lucilla gets killed by the arrow shot by Macrinus. Incredible close-up slow-mo shot of that feather tip flying out of his hand.
Yeah.
Brutal death, similar to his wife, which I think is why they did it. And he goes back to the Colosseum at night. All the bodies have been taken away. The blood-stained sand and dirt of the Colosseum is still there. The carriage chariot is still there where Lucilla was killed. And the first thing he does is he stumbles to one of the wheels and rubs it, and he says, "Mother." And then he walks backwards to a clean part of the Colosseum floor. And he grabs some of the sand. And he says, "Speak to me, Father." The first time he's probably ever spoken to Maximus as his father, and also maybe prayed to his father before. And it's really special. And I love the shot of the sunset, the dawn sky above him that's moving quicker than normal. Like time's passing very quickly.
Fucking awesome. And then we get the familiar music from the first film. I like what they did with the afterlife in this version.
Yeah, the afterlife.
They built upon it, and Lucius gets a hint of it when he's on death's door and he sees his wife being carried away by two what looks like representatives of death on this little tiny raft, and she gets onto the raft to be taken to the afterlife. I thought it was like so cool. I was very unexpected. And there's like, it's this kind of monochrome, slightly saturated black and white imagery, and there's like tornadoes and this crazy storm cloud in the distance on this rocky coast. It was really cool. I loved it.
Yeah, and they actually also did a shot where they went from the afterlife color aesthetic and they transitioned into present day regular color.
When he's in the water. Yeah, I thought it was great.
I thought that was awesome. I really like the afterlife stuff in this too, because I was curious how they're going to do it. Obviously, they were going to have the afterlife in it because it's so important to the first film. Really did it in a different way. I thought it was really fascinating. I enjoyed it. I liked being under the water. Even the shot of looking up at the surface of the water with the sun shining through, that was a really brilliant shot as well.
Yeah, it was great.
But I really like the afterlife sequences in this film.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool, and it worked. It made sense. It made a lot of sense.
A lot of things in this movie made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's not a perfect movie, and it's not Gladiator, but for a sequel to one of my favorite movies of all time, this was good. It was really good. I'm surprised how much I liked it. I didn't expect it to be like a really fantastic sequel. I didn't want them to make this movie, but they made it, and it was fun. It was a good time, man.
I had a blast. It might be my favorite movie of the year.
Over Dune too.
Yeah,
wow.
I haven't stated that yet, but it's up there, man. It's in competition for my favorite of the year.
I put it easily in my top 10, maybe in my top 5. It might be my top 5. I gotta see some more movies though. We're gonna see Brutalist soon.
Oh yeah, that comes out very soon.
Yeah.
But man, and also just the creation of Rome itself was done, I think, better than I've ever seen in a film before. The aerial shots over the city, the buildings.
Yeah, Rome's great in this.
The aqueducts in the background.
Better than ever.
The Colosseum. It all looked so sensational.
The world building.
Goodness, what an incredible looking film.
Goodness gracious. The depiction of the Rome landscapes and the cityscapes were just, they were just phenomenal, man. It was great.
And you got to tell me, how much was your blood boiling when Lucius entered the rebel gladiator tomb?
Oh my God.
And put on Maximus's chest shield and then took his sword up.
I wanted to scream, let's fucking go.
Oh my God.
I was like, let's go.
So amazing.
Let's go.
So amazing.
Man, they knocked it out of the park. This is a lot of fun. This is great entertainment, great spectacle, old school Hollywood filmmaking paired with the modern technology in the best way possible. Amazing performances, really interesting story for building off of the first one. It doesn't reach the same highs, but man, it does get really high.
You get super high in this film.
Gets high as fuck.
It gets pretty high, man.
Gets very high.
Ridley Scott, baby.
Still
Sign me up for Gladiator 3. I hope this movie makes $1 billion.
Whatever,
Such
man.
a blast.
Let's go.
I'll probably see it again in theaters. Hopefully y'all saw it in IMAX like we did. It was so epic. Cannot wait. I think they did a terrific job. I'm so happy this movie got made. 2 years ago when they announced the news, I remember at first we were like, do we need a sequel to Gladiator? Within a month, I was like, let's go.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Ridley's
doing it. Whatever Ridley wants, I'm signed up for. I'm seated. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for that 4-hour cut of Gladiator 2 as well. Ridley, let me know when you release that. That would be great.
I would love to see that.
Me too.
I mean, Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut's way better. Why not? Give it a shot.
It's pretty damn good director's cuts. Let's see. Do you have any other stuff to talk about?
I mean, that's all I got. I mean, I loved it. It was great. It was a really good time, man.
Yeah, I think we did a great job.
I can't wait for more behind the scenes to come out, especially the naval battle behind the scenes.
Oh man,
That's going to be
wait.
insane.
I can't wait. I think that they probably did the same way with wheels beneath the ships, and obviously the water and the sharks are all CGI.
Oh yeah, just the boats
Just
in
to
general.
see it, yeah.
I want to see them, how they filmed the naval battle and how they filmed the opening battle on the coast.
I hope there's sort of a documentary like they did with Gladiator on the BTS
They should,
stuff.
because they used to make that as priority with DVD releases.
I miss that stuff, man.
Now it's like you gotta really scour the internet for it, and they don't even I don't even think they put a lot of effort into making behind the scenes documentaries like they used to.
These studios, they're just so lazy these days, man.
They're not lazy. They're just
kidding.
like this. I mean, they don't.
Low priority.
Yeah, it's not a physical media world anymore.
Let's get into streaming as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. Yeah, it was a banger. It was a banger, guys.
Oh yeah, I was so excited. I had a blast both times. Thank you so much, though, for tuning into this episode of Raiders of the Lost podcast as we broke down Gladiator 2, one of the best legacy sequels ever made, of all time, from Sir Ridley Scott himself. Become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple. And take care, everybody.
Strength and honor.
This episode was brought to you by our chosen one patrons, Jacob Kossler and Nicholas Martin. Thanks so much, boys. Raiders of the Lost podcast is a mirror image production. Sound mixing done by Jacob Kossler. Opening music by Chase Jackson.